evening and welcome. Tonight, Senator Ike Ekweremadu is still far from being let off the hook as a UK court fixes his provisional trial for alleged organ harvesting for May next year. He is to remain in custody till October 31st. And back home, court sentences Uduak Frank Akpan to death by hanging for murder of a job seeker in Yobong, Umoren. APC unveils Plateau Governor Samuel Along as Director General to the standard bearer Bola Tinubu ahead of the 2023 presidential election. And PDP National Working Committee needs to fashion out an effective communication strategy that will enhance the chances of the party at the 2023 presidential election.
On Business News tonight, Corporate Affairs Commission says national identity number now to replace signatures for business registration in the country.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria's para-athlete Goodness Nwachukwu sets a world record in women's F42 discus event, throwing a mark of 36.56 meters to win gold in Birmingham.
From Abuja, Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom launches Community Volunteer Guard to complement the military and the police in securing the state.
And in international news from London, Taiwan says China has launched several ballistic missiles into waters off its northeast and southwest coasts.
We begin outside the country in the United Kingdom, where a former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu is to remain in custody until October 31st, 2022, following the adjournment of the case against him and his wife by a court in the United Kingdom. Both Ekweremadu and his wife, Beatrice, appeared at the Central Criminal Court in London today in continuation of the hearing of the charges on organ harvesting. A third individual, Obinna Obeta, who is a practicing medical doctor in London, also appeared alongside them. Our London correspondent, Juliana Olainka, has more.
Well, this deeply complex case involving the former Deputy Senate President did resume today at the Central Criminal Court, also known as the Old Bailey. The senator, alongside a third individual who was arrested by Metropolitan Police a couple of weeks ago, appeared in front of a judge via video link, while his wife Beatrice appeared in the dock. You'll remember that she was granted bail under very stringent conditions last week. And now, because of the complexities, it's worth just updating us on how we got here. The case began on the 5th of May this year, but didn't become known to the public until the 21st of June, when the senator and his wife were arrested on their way back into the United Kingdom at Heathrow Airport from a trip to Turkey. And now there have been lots of twists and turns on the way. I think the most notable twist is that this alleged victim is not a minor. He is, in fact, 21 years old, and this information came to light following an intervention from the Nigerian federal government. And another twist is that this 50-year-old doctor, Obinna Obeta, from Southwark in South London, was also arrested by the Metropolitan Police on charges for conspiracy to traffic a child for the purpose of organ harvesting. And now, as to be expected, the public gallery was absolutely packed. However, I didn't see the two adult children who have been in attendance at previous hearings. Now, there is one human rights organisation called the Civil Rights Realisation and Advancement Network, who has said that Ekweremadu's case in the UK constituted a grave assault on the 1961 Vienna Convention on diplomatic relations, as it failed to follow international standards and due procedures for trials of officials having diplomatic immunity. And now it has been revealed that whilst Mr. Ekweremadu was travelling into the United Kingdom, that he was bearing a diplomatic passport, which has led many people to ask why indeed he hasn't been placed on those same bail conditions as his wife Beatrice. No bail application was made on behalf of the senator, so we're not expecting to see them to appear in court until the 31st of October, with a trial potentially set for next year. Juliana Olayinka, reporting for Channels TV News in London.
Back here at home, an Akwa Ibom State High Court sitting in Uyo has sentenced a 20-year-old man, Uduak Akpan, to death for the murder of Miss Inyobong Umoren, a graduate of philosophy from the University of Uyo. He was also sentenced to life imprisonment on the second count of rape. The court, however, discharged and acquitted the second accused person, Akpan's father and daughter, for lack of compelling evidence to establish their culpability.
This tragic incident began in April 2021 when Miss Inyobong Umoren, a graduate of philosophy from the University of Uyo, attended what turned out to be a fake job interview in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. The victim's friend had said she had heard her scream for help when she established contact with her on the phone. As a result, a virtual search party deployed by Nigerians with the Twitter hashtag #FindInumoren to locate her went viral. The events led to widespread outrage. The man who raped and murdered her, Mr. Uduak Frank Akpan, was later caught, and after 9 months of trial with his co-accused, including his father and sister, it's Judgment Day, and this crowd outside who couldn't get into the courtroom wait anxiously for the outcome. And soon the verdict is in. Mr. Uduak Frank Akpan has been found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. The convict attempted to escape after the sentence.
The first accused person has been convicted, found guilty of murder and found guilty of rape. In respect of murder, he has been sentenced to death and he will be hung by the neck until he be dead. In respect of rape, he has been sentenced to life imprisonment. And those are the current situation of the law in Nigeria. And we thank the court for doing that.
The trial started on the 4th of November and ended on the 4th of, and judgment came on the 4th of August. It's simply brilliant, and we thank the court for that.
The victim's siblings welcome the judgment.
God was meant to serve for common people. And by the grace of God, what you have seen today, it makes us have that boldness that we still have a good government today. We are very happy. I am happy. My family is happy. My sister there in the grave is very happy that at the end of the day, she has found justice.
The defense lawyer also comments on the outcome of the case.
If you followed up the judgment, you will know that the court have done justice to the case. Justice in the sense that those that are supposed to be convicted, or the person that is supposed to be convicted was convicted, and the other two defendants that were not supposed to be convicted, they were discharged and acquitted accordingly. So that is the justice of the case.
Meanwhile, the convict's father, Frank Akpan, and sister, Basi Anwan Akpan, were discharged and acquitted by the court. The verdict should hopefully deter others contemplating such heinous crime to have a rethink.
Staying with legal matters, this time in Edo State, where the High Court is in Benin City, the state capital, has adjourned till September 26th hearing in the 5 billion naira libel suit filed by the president or the resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Mike Igini, against the Edo State All Progressives Congress chairman, retired Colonel David Imuse, and 2 others. It's filed an application for adjournment by the counsel to Colonel Imuse, Mr. Austin Osarenko, who applied to the court for time to explore settlement options for his clients outside the court. The claimant, Mr. Egini, had filed the suit following the allegation that he held a meeting with the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, in his residence, where they allegedly plotted to rig the governorship election in 2020.
I'll be leaving INEC in a very short while. After this, I have my life to continue. And reputation is everything. It precedes you in anywhere you go to in life. So, having brought me to this court on account of what he did, and myself having been on the witness box, Colonel Emosi, we have to be on this witness box so that it can tell the entire world, the empirical world, those things he said about me and my name. I'm not the only one bearing that name. The other members of the family who bear that name. But he tried to destroy my name. I was in Lagos with my family. I was never in Edo State. I never had any meeting. But look at the things he said about me. And so he must come before this court to tell the entire world. I have been here to say I did nothing. I was never in Edo State when he claimed I was here holding meeting on how to rig election.
More on the courts now. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has set aside the judgment of a federal high court sitting in Abuja as well, which discharged and acquitted a former Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Muhammad Umar, of money laundering charge to the tune of 66 million naira. In a unanimous judgment, the three-man panel of justices, led by Justice L. Frida Williams Daudu, upturned the judgment of the Federal High Court and ordered that the defendants continue with his defense on counts 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. The former Air Chief was prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on one count bordering on money laundering allegedly stolen from the account of the Nigerian Air Force during his tenure between 2010 and 2012. Politics now. Governor of Plateau State, Samuel Along, has been officially announced as the Director General of the party's presidential campaign organization for the 2023 general elections. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Adamu, unveiled him after leading the presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, and the vice presidential candidate, Kashim Shettima, to a meeting with the president in his office. He also unveiled former Minister of State for Labor and Productivity, Festus Keyamo, as the interim spokesperson of the campaign organization, while the deputy spokesperson is Hanatu Musa. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Omezoke, reports.
The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress leads a team of top party officials, the party's presidential and vice presidential candidate, as well as the governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, who also doubles as chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, to a meeting with the president in his office. At a briefing moments after, the APC national chairman revealed the latest decisions taken by the party, some of which are still awaiting the president's final approval.
Once we have his approval of what we have proposed, we intend to make major disclosures for the purposes of the media. The person who is going to be the DG, the Director General of the APC Presidential Campaign Organization, is His Excellency, seated by my left here, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State. He will lead as Campaign Director General. We have an interim spokesperson of the campaign organization in the person of Honorable Festus Keyamo.
On the single faith ticket, the APC national chairman appeals to party members to be patient, confident that there would be a solution to the agitations.
Any APC member who is aggrieved by this will only ask him to be patient or her to be patient and see how we develop. We are extremely sensitive to some of these sensitivities of fellow Nigerians or fellow members of our party. But the fact of the matter is, one issue does not determine candidate, does not determine victory. It doesn't. The party has taken a very careful, deep look at the Nigerian situation and the political space, and we believe very strongly that notwithstanding the expression that we're hearing, we will be working amicable solutions to these sentiments, and we're very sure by the grace of God we'll put them to rest before the elections.
Nevertheless, the vice presidential candidate, Senator Kashim Shettima, appeals to the media not to be swayed by exaggerated facts.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's discuss issues. How to propel this nation to greatness is much more important than playing on the sentiments of Nigerians. Poverty knows no religion or ethnicity. Insecurity knows no religion or ethnicity. I'm appealing to you.
The party's new Director General stated that he was surprised when he heard the announcement, but promised to work assiduously to earn for the party its deserved victory. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, Adamawa State Governor picks a female running mate, Professor Kaletapwa Farota, for 2023 governorship election. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos, here's a reminder of our top stories. UK court fixes Ike Ekwuremadu's provisional trial for alleged organ harvesting for May next year. He's remained in custody until October 31st, 2022. Court sentences Uduak Frank Akpan to death by hanging for murder of a job seeker in Yobong Omoren. APC unveils Plateau Governor Samuel Along as Director General to the Standard Bearer, Bola Tinubu, ahead of the 2023 presidential election. And PDP National Working Committee meets to fashion out an effective communication strategy that will enhance the chances of the party in the 2023 presidential election. More politics now. The People's Democratic Party is looking forward to developing an effective communication strategy that will be used to secure victory in the 2023 general election. Speaking at the meeting of the former publicist secretaries of the party, the national chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, said the meeting is imperative in view of the people's perception of the PDP since it lost the 2015 presidential election.
The national chairman of the People's Democratic Party is leading other members of the National Working Committee to this meeting with former publicity secretaries of the party. This special meeting with the former image makers of the PDP is essentially to plan a communication strategy that will help to change the perception of the electorate towards the PDP ahead of the 2023 general elections.
When we came in, we know that we had to do a perception management of our party. I know we're used to a certain mindset about how communication should go. But we came out with the mandate that we will, as a party and as a national working committee, under the leadership of the chairman and the directorate of the publicity, that we will confront and engage in conversation war with the liars.
Already, the National Working Committee says since its assumption of office in October last year, the party adopted a new communication strategy that paid off in the FCT area council elections and most recently, the Osun governorship elections. However, the party wants to improve on that strategy ahead of the 2023 general elections.
We're not coming here to lecture you, we're coming here to listen to you and to get you together to craft the necessary strategies for us to convey to the Nigerian people the best message that will make us win the next election. People don't vote for you for what you did for them in the past alone. They vote for you if they are convinced that when you come in, their quality of life will improve.
The party is hoping that the aggregation of the conversation here will lead to a draft strategy that will be deployed by the party ahead of next month's official flag-off campaigns for the 2023 general elections.
Meanwhile, the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has appointed Senator Dino Melaye and Mr. Daniel Bwala as his spokespersons for the upcoming presidential campaign. In a statement by Atiku's media advisor, Paul Ibe, the two appointments take effect immediately. Senator Melaye represented Kogi West Senatorial District and served as a member of the 8th Senate. Mr. Bwala, on the other hand, is a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, recently defected from the APC following his opposition to the Muslim presidential ticket. And Governor Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State has unveiled Professor Kaletapwa Farauta, the Vice-Chancellor of Adamawa State University, as his running mate for the 2023 general elections under the People's Democratic Party. The governor describes the choice of Professor Farauta as a painstaking strategy for gender sensitivity, in addition to her expertise, which will add value to the party's campaign.
Another statutory demand is that I exercise my prerogative of nominating a running mate, which I did. As I speak to you, our great party has submitted both my name and the running mate to INEC for the election. As we get set for a renewal of mandate, we have found it expedient, with his consent and understanding, to bring on board a fresh hand to join the ticket, Professor Kalata Farauta, the Vice-Chancellor of Adamawa State University. Mubi has been nominated as a fresh hand and presented by the party.
Back here in Lagos, the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has appealed to public office holders not to restrain media practitioners from carrying out their duties. The governor gave this charge during a meeting with the Nigerian Guild of Editors, where he promised to keep promoting press freedom.
Mr. Governor, you're welcome.
I stand with you guys in solidarity to say that indeed your profession is not just a noble one, but is the one that gives the general public an independent assessment, holding our governance and government accountable at all times. And so we need to be very careful as politicians, as public officers, that we do not gag this profession. We do not, unduly stifle, free journalism and on stifle free, press and media. And so I want to say to you that our government understands and appreciates press freedom and media freedom is the way in which we can hold government accountable. But it's also the responsibility of all of us here to ensure that that thin line, we also can self-regulate, ourselves.
To electoral matters, following the conclusion of the voter registration, the Independent National Electoral Commission says the number of registered voters in the country has risen to 95 million. The chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, made this known during the National Election Security Management Training in Abuja today.
It's less than 7 months to the 2023 general election, and security agencies are here to discuss their readiness to ensure a secure, safe, and free election. Those in attendance include the National Security Advisor, service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, heads of other security agencies, some members of the Federal Executive Council, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, members of the Diplomatic Corps, as well as traditional rulers. The Inspector General of Police underscores the importance of constant meetings and synergy among security agencies to boost the security of Nigerians before, during and after the election.
We shall continue to ensure that requisite orientation and adequate preparations are made to guarantee professional service delivery by the Nigeria Police Force and ensure strong interagency synergy that will engender a peaceful, secure and credible elections in 2023 in line with Mr. President's vision.
The security agencies are promising to support the electoral process to deliver a transparent election.
We are here not only to record that covenant, but to assure every Nigerian that the military is there to give support throughout the entire process and beyond, ensuring that as we support in providing secure environment as part of our operational engagements in internal security, that the conduct of the 2023 general elections will also be there to support the police and other security agencies in that regard.
The President is firmly committed to delivering an election that is completely transparent and which will command the general acceptance of the Nigerian population.
Following the conclusion of the continuous voter registration exercise last month, the electoral body confirms that the number of voters expected to participate in the 2023 general election has risen to about 95 million. However, he is concerned of the security of the electoral process in view of the current situation.
A projected voter population of about 95 million for the 2023 general election, which is over 20 million more than the combined voter population of the other 14 countries in West Africa put together. Ensuring the safety and security of voters, election personnel and materials, candidates, party agents, observers, the media, and transporters are enormous.
This training will be taken to all the 6 geopolitical zones, and 400 police officers are expected to be part of the process as police plans to ensure the security of the process.
Let's get more news now from our studio in Abuja. Here's Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Hi, Maokwe.
Hello, Amarachi. It's good to see you. Well, security is still on the front burner, but this time around for communities, as the governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, has given the assurance that the inauguration of the state security outfit, the Community Volunteer Guards, is not for electioneering or political purposes, but a necessary measure to address community-based security challenges. Mr. Ortom said this while flagging of the operations of the newly established outfit for local and timely intelligence gathering. He added that Nigerians must rise to evolve community-based solutions for their personal safety.
The IBB Square in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, comes alive with the symbolic parade drills by over 500 men of the Benue State Community Volunteer Guards, preparatory to the official inauguration. Governor Samuel Ortom arrives, exchanges pleasantries with dignitaries, and then proceeds to take salutations as the reviewing officer of the parade. The Special Advisor on Security Matters explains the reason for establishing the outfit, just as the Tote, Professor James Ayase, pledges support of the traditional institution to the Guards.
The Guards are to work in collaboration with other conventional law enforcement agencies to complement their efforts in the fight against insecurity and criminality, and to provide timely intelligence and effective responses to all security threats within our communities.
I want to pledge the full support of the traditional institution in Benue State for this special community guards that were specially selected in consultation with the traditional rulers in Benue State.
In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, for the use of the community volunteer guards.
Governor Tom, after performing the traditional cutting of the tape, reiterates the need for security agencies in the state to work with the guards in community-based intelligence gathering.
You do not have the powers of the police, or the army, the civil defense, or the DSS. So at all times, you must just work to complement what the conventional security men are doing as law-abiding and state. Don't go outside your rules of engagement.
After his address, he mounts the podium again as over 500 men of the Benue State Community Volunteer Guards take a parade signaling what is to come across Benue communities to improve security in the state.
Meanwhile, as part of measures towards boosting internal security, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has made a strong case for improved investment in Defense Industries Corporation, DICON, citing countries such as India and Brazil that took advantage of the crisis they faced to develop their military-industrial complexes. Professor Osinbajo goes on to say, if we ask the local companies to produce some of the mobile platforms like armored personnel carriers, that's APCs, and multi-role armored vehicles, the MRAV, and give them the contracts, they will produce. But if we choose to import rather than produce locally, then we will never develop our military-industrial complex. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who received an audience, the National Defense College Course 30 participants in Abuja, said the Nigerian government needs to take steps that will put it ahead of terrorists and bandits who are wreaking havoc across the country. While staying with security, as part of efforts to curb the activities of terrorists in the West African sub-region, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, is advocating the need for greater collaboration. According to him, the sharing of experience and intelligence will greatly assist in the fight against terrorism in the sub-region. He was speaking in Abuja while playing host to the Chief of Defense Staff of Burkina Faso.
It's the first official visit of the Chief of Defense Staff of Burkina Faso, Senior Colonel David Cabri, to Nigeria. The alumnus of the National Defense College takes advantage of his presence in Nigeria to visit his counterpart, General Lucky Irabor, at the defense headquarters, where he inspects the quarter guard. With the inspection over, Colonel Cabri proceeds to the office of the Chief of Defense Staff to state his reason for the visit.
Since I resumed office, I called my defense attaché to find a way for me to come and pay a visit to the city of Nigeria to have his kind advice for my new appointment, and also for me to present the security situation in the region. It is West Africa region, but especially within the region, the Sahel mean, I will just put Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali.
Worried about the activities of terrorists, both parties agree on the need for effective collaboration.
No doubt, the sub-region, of course the West African sub-region, is experiencing the menace of terrorism and insurgency. And we understand fully that to be able to address this scourge, there has to be a collaboration of all the countries within the sub-region.
Colonel Cabri of Burkina Faso, who is an alumnus of the National Defense College, is one of the personalities to be honored at the graduation of the college.
In the meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, is assuring Nigerians of a total overhaul of the nation's internal security. The IGP made this pledge while explaining the circumstances surrounding the attack on the Assistant Inspector General in charge of Zone 12, Audu Madaki, by bandits at Barde Zangidi along the Kaduna-Abuja road. He also urged the populace to be at alert as they go about their daily business.
We are making effort to see that the narrative is changed. The AIG is coming from Bauchi to Abuja through Kapanchan, and he was not with any escort. He was with his driver, orderly, and a friend, and that was how they had that incident. We encourage our officers and Nigerians to take precaution while traveling these days. More so, somebody like AIG who has the privilege of imposing his escort and guard. So it is a lesson for all of us. Very many senior officers that you have seen came to this conference from all over the country, and I think we need to take some precaution, but at the same time, we are assuring Nigerians that the entire security situation will be changed in most recent time.
Well, that's all from Abuja. It's back now to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Malkbe. And still ahead on the news at 10, OPEC and its... Well, we'll move on. Then, a software developer and chief executive officer of Siding Energy Services Limited, Mr. Khalid Obi, has unveiled an app known as Siding Express to help Nigerians make efficient use of household utilities. The app, which was launched in Lagos, will allow users access to utilities such as electricity, cooking gas, diesel, call credits, and other related bills from the comfort of their homes. Techno Oil, banks, and tech companies have pledged the collaboration with Siding Energy mobile app.
No need to panic.
This is the story of a young man who became restless in his mind about finding a more efficient way to do his business as a liquefied petroleum gas merchant. Senior bank executives, energy company execs, tech guys, merchants, and allied service providers are here to share the experience of the launch of Siding Express mobile app.
The idea of Siding Express,
the brainchild of a software engineer, Khalid Obi, who have disrupted the LPG distribution and penetration market, energy payment services using technology.
He bought some tricycle and started using Techno Oil as a delivery, doing their deliveries in terms of going to the houses within the island. And yes, there were so obstacles there. Time he drives the tricycle himself, and all what's not were all there.
We invested in this idea as a move to boost the adoption of LPG in Nigeria. Right now, what we have is a socially inclusive platform where you can order cooking gas, energy, power, diesel, and all your household utilities.
Convenience is at the heart of LPG adoption, a drive which the federal government has well established in its gas policy. Siding wants some of those responsibilities by this social inclusive energy platform and solution.
I think what Khalid is challenging us to do is to realize that it takes one person to disrupt a market, force change, and get the rest of us to think about the business model differently.
With a great team of highly skilled young Nigerians in the tech space, hundreds of vendors, and thousands of subscriber base and growing, this techpreneur says you are a minute away for all your energy solution plus utility on a secured space and consumer convenience.
You can order for your data, airtime, cable TV, pay your electricity bills. The app has all the vendors within the electricity sectors in Nigeria, in Lagos, and Nigeria also.
The Chief Executive Officer says consumers now have ability to know when and how they will track their daily needs and services as and when needed.
Meanwhile, leading food and consumer goods company Bua Foods has held its first annual general meeting and is declaring a profit after tax of 69.8 billion naira for 2021, almost double the profit it declared in 2020, and dividends of 3 naira 50 kobo on 1 naira 24 kobo per share. The group's founder and chairman, Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu, says the company is determined to do its part in ensuring food security in the country.
Fulfilling Africa's food demands by promoting food security and nourishing lives. That is the promise of Bua Foods PLC, makers of Bua sugar, flour, pasta, rice, and edible oils.
Happy birthday to you.
This annual general meeting falls on the 62nd birthday of Bua Group's founder and chairman, Abdul Samad Rabiu, who speaks on the company's plans.
We have seen an opportunity, to probably be doing about 50,000 tons every month in terms of exports, simply because most of these countries that are importing sugar, they have to either import from India, from Thailand, from Brazil. So if you look at the voyage time, it's almost 3-4 times, than from Nigeria to those countries.
Sugar contributed 63% to the company's 2021 revenue of 333.2 billion naira, while flour contributed 19%. Shareholders are leaving with 63 billion naira in dividends for 2021, according to the company's managing director.
A lot of the shareholders are less than 6 months or about 6 months old on the register. But in our spirit of democratizing our shareholders and also allowing more public participation, we feel it's an important element for us to get everybody on board in this first AGM to actually start seeing the promises that we offer and we want to run with over a very long period to come.
Payment of these dividends show the resilience of the company at a time of global economic challenges. Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu says the company is poised to meet Africa's growing demand for food.
Food security is very, very important. Bua Foods is doing everything possible to address some of these issues. But we know that at the end of the day, we really need to look inwards. What is happening in Ukraine and Russia, I believe, is a wake-up call for all of us, not only in Nigeria but in Africa, knowing fully well that at the end of the day, we need to do more in order for us to feed our people.
Bua Foods PLC is consolidating and restructuring its business in 2022 and promising a more diversified revenue stream in the coming years to create more revenue for the business and shareholders.
Let's get more business news now from Anne Wawadu.
Thank you, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Corporate Affairs Commission says the national identity number will now replace signatures from business registration in Nigeria. And that's according to a statement released today by the Registrar General of the Commission, Garba Abubakar, at a forum held in partnership with the National Identity Management Commission in Kano. He explained that the new plan is part of the integration of NIMC, and the Commission may only require name enrollment numbers and not signatures to process registration applications once implemented. Many government agencies have already made the use of NIN mandatory following a directive announced by the federal government in December 2020 for its compulsory linkage with phone SIM cards. Shell Petroleum Development Company says that it has shut down its floating production, storage and offloading vessel following reports of water inflow. In a statement released today, the local subsidiary of international oil giant explained that the vessel, which is located off the Bayelsa coastline, has been safely anchored for repairs. The vessel, which is operated by SPDC, has a production capacity of 170,000 barrels per day. It's also reportedly capable of storing up to 1.4 million barrels of processed crude. Listed insurer International Energy Insurance says that its operation has now been taken over by Norenberger Advisory Partners. And this is coming after the Abuja-based financial service group obtained the approval of the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, to acquire 100% equity holding in the insurer. Norenberg has already obtained final approval from the NGX for the block acquisition of 50.6% equity in the first instance. It has also commenced the process for the approval of the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission for the mandatory takeover bid to acquire the remaining holdings of that company. We head to the local market now, where investors' sentiment in the local stock market continued today. Further sell-offs of Bois Cement and 15 other decliners knocked off nearly 7 billion naira from the total value of listed equities. Eni John Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the NGX is still in the red, sustaining the bearish sentiment, which seems to be the trend these days. Today's loss was just 7 billion naira, and we see there the All-Share Index is down 0.03%, but that is still enough to get the bear roaring. And that doesn't look like the trend will change anytime soon, but never say never. Now, we see a massive drop in today's value from over 4 billion naira yesterday to just about 1.62 billion naira today. That's a lot shaved off the value for today. ICO Insurance, Transco, and Accessco, they were the top trades for today, totaling 37 million of today's trade. Of the three, however, Accessco gained, the only one who gained 10 kobo to close at 9 naira. Now, a quick recovery we see on the banking counter, up more than 2% at the close of trade today, and that's thanks to Tier 1 lenders, Accessco, Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank gained to close at 22 naira. That's for that. And once again, the financial services shines out of the market, but we do hope to see that spread to other sectors. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Eni John Mekwa. Back to you.
Thank you, Eni. The Bank of England has raised its key interest rate from 1.25 to 1.75%, and this increase is the sixth time in a row, and it's 0.5 percentage points higher from the previous rate. It's also the biggest rate hike by UK Central Bank in 27 years. Meanwhile, the BOE has warned that Britain will sink into a legitimate and lengthy recession later this year as the country's inflation rate continues to climb even higher. UK's inflation rose further to 9.1% in June, its highest level since 1980, due mostly to surge in energy prices. And that's Business News. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Anne. The U.S. Justice Department has charged 4 current and former Louisville Metro police officers with federal crimes related to Breonna Taylor's death. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department will seek to charge the defendants with included civil rights offenses, unlawful conspiracies, unconstitutional use of force, and obstruction offenses. Meanwhile, Taiwan says China has launched several ballistic missiles into waters around the northeast and southwest coast. Simon Pusey has more.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Taiwan says China has launched several ballistic missiles into waters around Taiwan's northeast and southwest coasts. The launches are part of live-fire military drills, China's biggest ever in the region around the island. Several Dongfeng ballistic missiles were fired into waters around Taiwan's northeast and southwest coasts. Some of the affected areas are just 12 miles off the island, the closest Beijing's military exercises have ever come. Taiwan says the move, which stops ships and planes from using the space, violates its sovereignty and amounts to a blockade. It's after the Speaker of the House of Representatives visited the island, the highest-ranking US official to visit Taiwan in 25 years. Foreign Minister Wang Yi described her stop on the island as manic, irresponsible and irrational. On an official trip to New Zealand, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the United States opposes any efforts to change the status quo in Taiwan.
We oppose any unilateral efforts to change the status quo, especially by force. We remain committed to our One China policy, guided by our commitments under the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 communiques, and the 6 assurances. And I want to emphasize, nothing has changed about our position. And I hope very much that Beijing will not manufacture a crisis or seek a pretext to increase its aggressive military activity.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for oil and gas companies to face special taxes. His comments come as surging energy prices sparked by the war in Ukraine push industry profits to new highs. Mr. Guterres said it was immoral for firms to be profiting from the crisis. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February has worsened a global shortage of oil and gas, disrupting access to oil and gas from Russia, a major supplier, and driving prices higher.
It is immoral for oil and gas companies to be making record profits from this energy crisis on the back of the poorest people and communities and at a massive cost to the climate.
The Bank of England has raised interest rates by the most in 27 years, despite warning that a long recession is on its way as it rushed to smother a rise in inflation which is now set to top 13%. Reeling from a surge in energy prices caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee voted 8-1 for a half a percentage point rise in bank rates to 1.75%, its highest level since late 2008.
You voted to increase bank rate by 0.5 percentage points to 1.75%.
Governor Andrew Bailey said all options were on the table for the Bank of England's next meeting in September and beyond. A Senegalese opposition leader has called on supporters to be ready to defend their votes by any means, accusing the ruling party of President Macky Sall of wanting to steal an election the opposition claims to have won. Opposition leader Ousmane Sonko said in a news conference that Macky Sall wants to confiscate our victory, but we will not accept it. Last year, violent protests broke out after Ousmane Sonko was arrested on rape charges. He denies the allegations, which he says are politically motivated. Data from the European Union's Joint Research Centre shows that wildfires raging through Europe this summer have burnt the second largest area on record. A dozen European countries have suffered major blazes this year, forcing thousands to evacuate and destroying homes and businesses. Countries including Italy, Spain and France still face extreme fire risk. Wildfires have burned over 600,000 hectares in the EU countries this year so far. That ranks as the second highest total for any year since 2006, when records began. And finally, 2/3 of Australia's Great Barrier Reef have showed the largest amount of coral cover in 36 years, but the reef remains vulnerable to increasingly frequent mass bleaching. In its annual report, the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences said it found that recovery in the central and northern stretches of the UNESCO World Heritage listed site contrasted with the southern region, where there was a loss of coral cover due to crown of thorns starfish outbreaks. In a key measure of reef health, AIMS defines hard coral cover of more than 30% as high value based on its long-term surveys of the reef. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Let's now take a look at some sports stories. Now, Folashade Oluwafemilayo has broken her own world record to win gold for Team Nigeria in the women's heavyweight powerlifting event. The Paralympic champion was in an incredible form, lifting a new world record of 155 kg to clinch the gold medal. Surprisingly, her first gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. It was an inspired Nigerian 1-2 finish, with Bose Omolayo getting in on the act as well, securing the silver medal with a lift of 145 kg, very clear of the third-place finisher, Australia's Hani Watson, who won the bronze medal with a lift of 127 kg. Earlier, Nwachukwu Goodness won gold in the women's discus throw event, setting a new world record of 36.56 meters. In football, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta hopes that Gabriel Jesus' experience of regularly winning trophies at Manchester City will rub off on his new teammates. Jesus makes his competitive debut for the Gunners at Crystal Palace on Friday night after a summer move from City, where he won 4 Premier League titles among 8 major trophies. The Brazilian forward joined the Gunners for more game time as he aims to make the World Cup in Qatar later this year. And a Russian court has sentenced U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner to 9 years in prison over drug smuggling, as U.S. President Joe Biden called the ruling unacceptable. The court found the defendant guilty of smuggling and possessing a significant amount of narcotics. Judge Anna Sotnikova told the court in the town of Khimki just outside of Moscow. Sotnikova sentenced 31-year-old Griner to 9 years in prison and says she would also have to pay a fine of 1 million rupees. U.S. President Joe Biden immediately released a statement calling the Russian court sentencing of Griner unacceptable. And that's a wrap on Sports News. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Amarachi with the wrap of the news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Victor. And just before we go, 3 people have died, several others injured at Dansauni village in Batagarawa local government area of Katsina State after an attack by terrorists. Eyewitnesses who spoke to Channels Television say the terrorists and their numbers, armed with sophisticated weapons, invaded the village on motorcycles at about 3:55 p.m. when the Muslim faithful were preparing for prayers. During the attack, dozens of women and children were said to have been abducted, while other residents fled for safety. The attack, which lasted over 45 minutes, is coming 3 days after some terrorists also attacked neighboring communities in Babaruga, Kwarin Maikotso, and Kore villages. 2 persons died, 8 others were abducted. And the main news again, a former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, is to remain in custody, prison custody that is, in the UK until October 31st, after the court today fixed his provisional trial for alleged organ harvesting for May next year. And that's news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.